Hey, Scrapecoat. Hey, Alien Tourist. Hey, Vanna. Whoops. Probably help out better if I had my mic down. Hello, Scrapecoat, Alien Tourist, and Vanna. And Lowell Craig. I look forward to seeing if I actually will finish the game tonight. Not totally sure how much is left, so... I mean, not really? Actually, I'm pretty tired. I'm actually pretty tired. I didn't sleep as well as I'd hoped last night. I stayed up too late. I was super tired. Oh, hey, congratulations, tourist. So, you're now certified to add A at the end of every sentence. Yeah, last night I was really tired, so I ended up taking like a nap, which went on way longer than I'd intended to, so I fucked up my sleep pattern for earlier, and yeah. Gonna take a miracle to get through today. To get through to the night, honestly. Hey, Rebecca. I did text her a happy birthday. She actually needed to remind me. She reminded me that it was her birthday. So that was when I wished her a happy birthday. YouTube jail for 7 days? Yeah. Well, that's a shame. Hey, Kelly. Speaking of birthdays, my mom's birthday is coming up next month. I'll be working her birthday though, so I'll need to talk to her about, you know, Need to ask her whether she wants her birthday chocolates early or late. As though that's a question. Take her out to a nice meal at the Sizzler. We don't have a Sizzler in Cornwall. What's my mom? She's in her 70s. I don't remember her exact age, but she is in her 70s. Hey, intentional weirdo. Really invest in both people. Fair enough. Fair enough, weirdo. I've been there. Get super invested in a game and to the extent of everything else. Chantel's in her 70s. Nah, she just feels that way. She just feels that way most days. For the record, so do I. Do I feel like a gift or a curse? Hi, Habibi. I generally feel cursed. On another note, something I ordered 4 months ago is now being shipped. Not going to tell you what it is. How long is it here these days? Too long. So yeah, I'm not going to say what it is that I ordered, except that there's a few people who are going to be super, who are going to be very excited when I show what it is. It is not steroids. There's going to be a small number of people on here. There's going to be a handful of people who are going to get an absolute thrill out of it. So I should be getting it sometime in the next few weeks. Is it something sexy? It is not a dragon dildo. Eclipse of viewing glasses? No. Is it a game? No. Can you wear it? No. It is not something wearable. It is not Sailor Moon related. No. Going outside to the eclipse? No. Not going to... I don't care about the eclipse. I genuinely don't care about the eclipse. Do its ears hang low? Hey now. But yeah, I don't care about the eclipse. I don't really see what the big deal is. I don't see what the big deal is. It's once in a lifetime. So. I was outside today. I was outside when I went to get my groceries. That's enough outside for me. Yes, I got my muffins. Anyway. So, last week, Kiana married a king who is deeply controlling of her, won't let her do a damn thing. She's stifling under his control. And she ended up finding a crack in the wall that leads out into the city around the castle. So, her heart pounding with excitement, Kiana did not think anymore and threw herself into the exploration of the citadel. What was it? Felici A. Contenti. Second day you've been live early. It's messing up your sleep schedule. I mean, not that early. Just not at 2 in the morning. 2:30. Not 2:30 in the morning, but. She immediately blended into the crowd, so the king could not find her that easily, and let herself be guided by fate. As a port town, Genoa worked like a nerve center, in which men and women of all nationalities would circulate. Artisans would hurry to sell their products, which wealthy traders would then export all over the world. The excitement was palpable in the rustles of passers-by, the omnipresent shouts. And hey, map of the ancient world. I mean, not ancient, but map of the world. At least of the Mediterranean. The princess discreetly observed some merchants who were talking in front of their shops and eavesdropped their conversation. It was about Egypt. She gathered that it was a major trading hub. Numerous merchants from all over the world traveled there to sell woolen cloth, coral, fur, wood, or iron, as those products were especially necessary to Egypt when it came to shipbuilding. Fancy map showing trade in the Mediterranean. And, what sea is that? Not the Red Sea? Or would that be the Pacific? That'd be the Pacific. Indian Ocean? Be the Indian Ocean, I think. I'm not good at geography. Yeah. The Mediterranean and down into the Indian Ocean. They obtained their supplies from Persian caravans that left through the Gulf of Suez to reach India, Africa, and the East. Also, they could bring back a great deal of spices, which were highly popular in Europe. From there, further east, all the way to Hong Kong. They would then return to Genoa, where noblemen, middle-class citizens, and craftsmen would come to purchase incense, cotton, linen, sugar, coffee, ginger, vanilla, and pepper at an exorbitant price. Hey, comic book! I had no idea that some commodities that are used to prepare tasty dishes actually came from China, India, Yemen, or Madagascar. Outside of the Walls. Visit Genoa for the first time. Outside of the Walls achievement. Woo! Where are we always on a different continent and or timeline every time I tune in? Her mind turned to Bertha, who would regularly send assistants to the market to bring back ingredients, herbs, or spices. She had once shown her a little box filled with gold pistols. What is this? This little furry animal is the kingdom's greatest treasure. Yet I only see a crushed flower. Know that this crushed flower is actually the most expensive and laborious to obtain spice there is. I've heard that to buy 1 kilo of this product, you'd need to harvest about 200,000 flowers, whose pistils are picked and dried by hand. In fact, only grams are available to purchase. What is this mysterious spice then? It's called saffron. It grows on the island of Rhodes, or so it is said. Apparently, you can use it as a medicine as well. I'm showing this to you mostly as a warning. You must never, under no circumstances, drop this box. If the pistols were to be wasted, it would cost you years of salary. Years? Each gram of saffron is very expensive, and the sovereign would get terribly angry because he adores its taste. Understood. I intend to put some in tonight's risotto. You'll love it. Kiana ventured to glance at a stall so that she could have a sense of the number of gold coins that would be required to purchase the saffron Bertha had talked about. Her face froze with dread. Its price was indeed astronomical. Hey, Pika. She remained pensive as she walked past the shops.
Some spices are indeed quite rare.
She strolled around the keys for a long time, absorbing each new piece of information with insatiability until the sun started to set. Hey, Joel. I'm pretty sure that's pronounced keys. Yep, I was right. Ha ha ha. I am so smart. I am so smart. What? Nope, it's a key. They are keys. Traders were packing up their products and closing their shops, while passers-by were becoming scarcer and less boisterous. The princess knew it was time to come home.
I am almost certain that Jeunesse noticed my absence. After all, he is spying on me at all times. He must be absolutely furious.
Yes, I did hear about the bridge, PK.
But I learned a lot thanks to today's little escapade. I like this restlessness. I like exploring the city with no particular goal. There's no way I will accept being confined after such a lovely afternoon. I've not even discovered half of Genoa.
At a peaceful but determined pace, she headed toward the palace. It took only a handful of meters before she caught sight of a squad of guards who were interrogating silk strollers at random. You live near a few? Huh. Neat, weirdo.
Have you seen a young woman, about this size, dark skin, wearing a red dress?
No, I have not noticed anyone who fits that description. Kiana could not help chuckling. Since she was in an excellent mood after her walk, she thought she ought to hail them.
Could I be the one you are so fervently looking for, gentlemen?
The guards immediately came closer.
It could very well be, madam. You do seem to match the description we were provided. How can we be sure that it's indeed her? We should not just bring back any scoundrel to the castle.
The young Moor started to laugh heartily. She stretched out a hand with an imperious gesture.
Examine my ring. It is the proof that I am indeed the sovereign.
The two guards clumsily obeyed before admitting that the jewel was definitely authentic. While profusely stuttering, they instructed her to follow them.
Those two seem quite scatterbrained. I wonder how they became soldiers.
Although she was hardly impressed, she politely let them take her to the throne room, where her husband was waiting. Hey, Jordan! From the color of his red, swollen face, she could surmise that he was greatly displeased. He suddenly seemed so ridiculous that she felt her patience flicker like a candle in the wind.
Leave us alone.
Leave us alone. The guards respectfully bowed before exiting the room.
I cannot believe that you dare do such a thing.
Running away like that, when I had forbidden you to leave the castle. I was worried sick. Did you spare me a thought? What if something had happened to you? Get caught, run wild? No, we decided to head back to the castle. We were just like, yeah, time to head back to the castle. Besides, look at you. What kind of maiden would loiter around the town with an escort like a vagabond? Are you even aware of... He could not finish his sentence as the princess was already charging at him with fiery eyes. Her voice cracked like the leather strap of a whip.
For the love of God, Janice, cease this childish behavior at once. You can pack up your meaningless excuses. I am sick and tired of being locked up in a cage where everything is forbidden. I cannot fulfill my duty as queen, nor can I distract myself. I cannot even exist since simple pleasures are taken away from me. Am I supposed to obediently stay seated on a chair all day until you deign to honor me with your presence? Should I be grateful on top of that?
Need more nerve in her angry tone.
No, monsieur. I am not an object, and I will not let you treat me this way. As long as I am the queen, I will act as I please. And if it pleases me to venture into my city, to govern my people, well, I will go without your approval.
Give Van another wrench.
From now on, I will not allow anybody to get in my way.
The king shuddered upon hearing those words. He was not used to anyone standing up against him, and his former wife had never rebelled either. As such, he was quite simply astounded, unable to string syllables together in a coherent manner.
But ma sweet, am I really your sweet? It seems to me that you consider me more like a harlot than your equal.
Come on! How can you say such a thing?
I maintain my stance, and I am ready to state it loud and clear, in front of your guests if necessary.
Come now, surely you are not going to...
The situation is quite simple. Either you grant me the freedom I demand from you, either I try my luck somewhere else.
Oh, did I not? I thought I welcomed you, Jordan. Hello, Jordan. Why are we... I'm not opposed to a Habibi. I am capricious with the wrenches. I give out the wrenches, like, on whims. I need to just be struck by the whim in order to give it a wrench. You would not dare! You would be living in a sin!
Want to bet?
The monarch felt drops of sweat forming on his forehead. His wife's strong character was scaring him, and he could sense that she was entirely capable of leaving on a whim. He contemplated the shame it would represent for the new queen to leave him. There was no doubt that this news would cause quite a stir, and that he would be the town's laughingstock. I bet you won't give one to Brooke. You'd probably win that bet. At least until I decide to just randomly give her one. Worse still, he was realizing that he might never manage to make her yield, and that she was likely to cause a disturbance in Genoa if she were to run away again without warning. For all these reasons, to save his pride, he swallowed and reluctantly agreed. I have heard your preferences. I will thus make an effort.
Is that true?
Yes, my lady. I now understand that it was pointless of me to want to overprotect you. You will now be able to leave the castle from time to time, provided that you will be accompanied. Louise will ensure your safety. Kiana could not believe her ears. She had thought she would need to fight tooth and nail, yet her wish was already being granted. Overjoyed, she threw herself into Janice's arms.
Oh, thank you so much. I promise to be good.
If it helps, I'd move my fat body and throw my fat body in front of a moving cow for Habibi. Hey, Jenna. The sovereign was disconcerted by the princess' unexpected signs of tenderness. She made much of him the whole evening, and appeared so friendly that he could not stay angry at her any longer. See, that's what it's gotta be, you know? You make a minor concession, and, like, she's a sweetheart, so she'll be like, oh, yeah, thanks. Now let's bow, chicka, bow, bow. That's how you gotta handle the nice girls. You know, that's how you gotta handle the sweet girls. You know, you compromise, and then they'll give you a little bit of that fisting. His smile mellowed his demanding nature somewhat, and he fell asleep looking content. This girl acts in a wild way, but she is good at heart. She is. In the wake of this incident, Janice and Kiana reconciled, and the both of them attempted to temper their respective expectations. Killface! What was your request, Jenna? Yeah, what's your request, Jenna? Despite this, they were still experiencing a lot of difficulties adapting to diametrically opposed ambitions. Sometime later, the princess made a new trip to the city, this time assisted by her lady-in-waiting. Pop, lock, and drop that wrench. They'd barely walked past the castle's gate when exasperation started to loom over them. BB is vetted and a loyal home slice. Bestow the wrench. Again, I only do that on a whim. Where would you like to go, madam? I have not yet decided. I simply meant to stroll here and there. I am sorry. I cannot let you wander in Genoa streets if you do not have a specific plan in mind. Please name at least one shop you would like to visit. Honorary hammer. What is this new rule? Special request of the king. He wishes to know your itineraries after the fact, if not in advance. The wrench wenches have spoken. It's women time. Well, you will be bothered to learn that I have none. Discovery first. One lifetime is long enough to do more than just shopping. We've listened to this voice for 56 weeks for you. Instead of stim, I whim. Exactly. In that case, I suggest heading for Alborough, a small town located not too far from the Citadel. It includes splendid villas that belong to quite renowned aristocratic families. In particular, a few of the master's friends live there. I do not want to have tea with his business partners. I was rather hoping to go near Sotoripa. I would have liked to see the porticos in front of the harbor. The harbor? You cannot be serious, madam. It is a den of rascals, saturated with all sorts of con artists ready to leap on you. Their powers have weakened? Apparently. Stop alarming me needlessly. The harbor is bound to be a high-traffic area. There's nothing surprising about the fact that it would attract swindlers. Ah, madam, you know nothing of the dangers lurking there. I could not care less.
I would like to take a walk along the shore, and I will do exactly that. But if we were to greet Lord Boniface of Alborough, he could show us around town safely.
By contradicting and tormenting Kiana again and again, Louise finally obtained that they go to Alborough. And that is how the princess spent a rather boring afternoon in the properties of the local wealthy lords, exchanging hollow courtesies. At no time could she obtain a walk, other than a visit of the house her hosts were boasting around. When Shanice congratulated her for following his advice and paying a visit to his friends, she was so tremendously annoyed that she glared at him, and had quite simply cut him off mid-sentence. He did not dare approach her for 2 days after that. When the heiress showed the willingness to go to Sotoripa during her next excursion, the servant repeated the same little game to convince her otherwise. She thought, not without reason, that if she had managed to make her yield once, she could repeat that feat every subsequent time. This failed to take her tenacity into account. Before the time fixed for her outing, Kiana rushed to the garden and summoned her godmother away from prying eyes. The magical gust of wind soon revealed her figure.
Do you need my company again? Your presence is always pleasant to me, dear Medea, but this is not why I am calling you forth. I would like to have another of your enchanted gadgets.
You have my full attention.
I seem to recall that, in some timelines, you had made me invisible so that I could escape my father's castle dressed in the donkey skin. You used a sort of fey veil.
I see what kind of object it could be. Am I to understand that you would like me to use the same spell again?
Your enchantment was quite useful, but its effect was only temporary. Would it be possible to make me invisible whenever I want, with an object I could carry with me everywhere, without arousing suspicion?
Well, it should not be too complicated.
Thank you very much, Godmother. Thanks to you, I will finally be able to rid myself of the bothersome nanny my husband gave me.
So he still does not trust you?
Alas, he does not. I had the impression of being treated like a little girl. It is insufferable. If at least he would let me go out without sensationalizing the event. I hesitated over concealing myself with the donkey skin to be able to walk around Genoa incognito. And then I realized I would need to cross the palace in this garb before even reaching the outside, and I cannot risk being caught by the servants. So I thought that you could help me.
Is that not what I do best? It appears that I am more valiant knight than good fairy.
I am in your debt for coming to my rescue so generously. But if you are to take the place of the knight, tolerate that I take yours. Playing the damsel in distress does not suit me.
Come study magic with me, then we will talk.
Without losing her characteristic eloquence, Medea gestured her protege to stay silent, and started a magic ritual she thought she recognized.
Here is a hazel rod. When in need, hit your head with this hazel rod, and you will immediately become invisible. You will only need to repeat that process to be seen again. I entrust it to you, so do not lose it. Even more so if you are invisible. You do not want to be stuck like this for the rest of your life.
I cannot thank you enough, Godmother. However, something is bothering me.
How long is this game? I am not sure, Jenna. I don't actually know how long it is.
And what is that?
It is just that you lent me the same object when I needed to make a magical chest filled with my most beautiful clothes appear. Does it mean that any object I will touch with the rod is going to become invisible?
The creature stared at her with a mix of confusion and marvel. Hey, Joanna. Well, your explanation is quite good. There is clear consistency. At the risk of disappointing you, this is not how the hazel rod works. So there is no risk of inadvertently making your husband disappear.
Oh, I thought I had finally grasped part of your powers. What is the explanation, then, if mine is incorrect?
Nothing can stop you, eh? You are just like your mother.
Am I so tactless? I will not insist if this knowledge is forbidden to mortals. I would simply like to better understand how magic works.
Medea sighed. The young woman thought that she was going to scold her, but that was not the case. It is not every day a human genuinely takes an interest in our magic's nature. Very well, I will reveal my secret. With a solemn look, she invited Kiana to closely examine the hazel rod. This harmless piece of wood actually works like a receptacle. I infused it with magic. In truth, all kinds of objects can be suitable, provided that the fairies is seasoned enough. But hazel is especially appropriate, as it is a magical plant. Still don't trust her? Who, the fairy? The fairy's trustworthy. The fairy's totally trustworthy.
I have heard about that. Hazel is reputed to be used by druids during incantations.
Exactly. Some cultures use it to reveal hidden knowledge. In the present case, I have simply sealed a spell inside the rod. Thus, each time you shake it with a swift movement of the hand, it automatically casts said spell or cancels it if it was effective until then. Fairy sets us up a lot. She doesn't. The fairy does what we ask her to do. That's the thing. The fairy does what we ask. If what we ask is not going to actually work out well, it's not on her. Yeah, she gives us the tools. It's up to us to use them. It's our fault. Yes! Yes, it is absolutely our fault. She gives us the tools. It is up to us to use them properly.
So that is how your gadgets work. But what is the point of sealing charms inside something inanimate?
For a magical creature, there are very few applications, as we already know how to use magic. You may find fairies lazy enough to infuse everyday objects to make their life easier, but that is all. The true appeal of the bewitched hazel rod is that you can entrust it to a human without risk. Let's not fuck it up this time. I mean, we probably will.
Really? I did not think it was a ritual specifically intended for us.
In the past, fairies would grant the slightest request of humans themselves, and the latter had the unfortunate tendency to exploit this, to the extent that some fairies were stuck on Earth for years, doomed to tirelessly repeat the same spells. Yet we need to regularly return to the World Tree to regenerate. Some of my predecessors foolishly died because of humans' greed. Worse still, we revealed snippets of our knowledge to men, and it had devastating consequences. We swore not to divulge it so easily ever again.
I understand better now.
Thanks to our little gadgets, we do not need to be physically present at every moment. Besides, you would be surprised to know how quickly it can take a turn for the worse.
You would be surprised to know how quickly it can take a turn for the worse when you give too much power to a single individual. If I had directly entrusted you with the invisibility spell, you could have abused it, or used it against me. Whereas, with a rod, you can only do what you promise to do. It makes sense. I am still disappointed. I could have learned some rudimentary magic under the old system. And gain control over time without any supervision? What a great idea. Do you not think the situation is complicated enough as it is? You are right. Regardless, I am grateful for your assistance, Godmother. The pleasure is mine. Medea vanished with the wind as Louise's voice echoed through the corridors. Madame! Madame, where are you? I think this is my cue to leave. Translating words into actions, the young woman took hold of the hazel rod and hit her head with it. No sooner had she done so than her body became as thin and transparent as fabric. Rod. Yep. Smack in our face with a big old rod. In order to make sure that nobody could see her, she approached a fountain to better look at her reflection. She had none. Hey, Lynn. Satisfied, she put the precious object in her pocket and walked through the palace's gate with remarkable poise. She could not help smiling upon hearing the servants panic about her disappearance, and entered the city. Once she was certain to be out of sight, she broke the spell. Forward! I still have many things to see. Superba Genova. It was a beautiful and warm summer afternoon. The streets were bustling with life, and it would have been criminal not to enjoy the moment. Travelers were speedily heading for the city's inns to take a welcome rest. Fuck the conservatives, Rebecca. The whole world seemed to have arranged to meet at Genoa, and she very much liked that feeling. Upon walking along the harbor, Kiana once again dawdled in the merchants' area. Two gentlemen were in the midst of a debate. Tried a raspberry? Have I tried a raspberry? I think maybe. I think raspberries are more tart than I like. I must have tried a raspberry. I'm pretty sure I tried a raspberry and didn't hate it, but way more tart than I like, so I didn't enjoy it. There's something I would very much prefer not to eat. Two gentlemen were in the midst of a debate. They were talking so loudly that she felt drawn and started eavesdropping to learn a bit more about the subject of their heated conversation.
The future lies in sugar trade, as I have said all along. Of course, it's not a spice as sought after as pepper, but I have intuition, and I recognize a good opportunity when I see one.
Kiwi? Don't think I've had kiwi. Admit that savory meals are more common, even as desserts. You're being stubborn with your sugar.
The issue is that all traders sell traditional spices. You have to differentiate yourself somehow. Besides, don't forget the Venetians are on every case. If we want to have a shot at exerting more influence, we need to explore new possibilities to remain one step ahead.
It's true that Venetians are ruthless in business. They're damaging our reputation. Blackberries? I don't think I've had blackberries.
Above all, we're aiming for the same market, so there's bound to be a strong rivalry between us. We need to find a new battleground. What are your areas of import?
Oh, a little like everyone else. I resell spices from Egyptian merchants in France, and sometimes England too.
We do have a monopoly in Provence, but this isn't nearly enough. We need to aim farther, always farther. The North Sea, for instance, or Grenada.
This is all well and good, but what do you do about pirates? The farther you travel on the ocean, the more likely you are to encounter them. Do I not like fruit? I mean, there's a couple fruits that I like. Apple is okay. Bananas are okay. Strawberries I like. Grapes I like. I like the taste of orange, I just find it a messy fruit. Blackberry jam's your favorite?
And I wouldn't wish you to be taken hostage or killed while they steal all your gold. That's true. And that's precisely why I won't set up shop at a trading post in the east. I don't feel secure there.
See?
But still, I remain confident that sugar trade is a booming market.
What's up with blue raspberry? What is it? Raspberry, but blue, I would assume. Spinach? Couldn't tell you if I've had spinach. The princess moved away from the two chatterboxes, deep in thought. If I am to believe their words, the spices in my father's castle, or in Lord Grisel's castle, must have come from Genevans, who had bought them on this very spot. Her curiosity piqued even more. She headed for the marketplace and stopped at a colorful stall that seemed quite promising. It was covered with big containers filled to the brim with powder and dried flowers, spices, herbs, and infusions. Upon walking next to a jar, she noticed that each one was emitting a different scent, and, by reflexes, she leaned to smell one. Noticing her curiosity, the owner approached her, all smiles. "Are you interested in our spices, miss? I have more than 200 of them, and dozens of different kinds of pepper. You will find something for every meal." "Oh, I do not know if my husband is going to approve." "What's with grape-flavored anything?" "Grape is a good flavor." "Don't act shy. Take a sniff. For instance, this is a curry-based homemade preparation, ideal for a good leg of lamb." "I like the merchant's coat. I'd wear that." "It's a nice fancy coat." "And this one is a mix for cold bouillon. In winter, when it's colder, it's a real delight for your palate." Grape soda does slap, though. It does. Grape flavor just tastes like medicine. It is true that it smells heavenly good. I am unfortunately not in charge of the kitchens, but I could perhaps take a little something for myself. What do you have to offer? What about some herbal tea? It will do your heart a world of good, and warm you during hard times. Here, breathe in some Buddha's rest. There are hints of vanilla and lemongrass. What a funny name. And it's not the only one. We call this small pile a panda's nap. It's made of apple, grape, papaya, pineapple, and bamboo. And this one? The English Garden. It's made using pear, chamomile, strawberry, raspberry, and rose. I like its fragrance a lot. I think this is the one I am going to try out. Some of these accents are bordering on offensive. Oh, my Italian accent is absolutely offensive, and I apologize to Italian people.
My French accents were all pretty offensive as well. But I don't apologize to the French. Mushy graves make me want to end it all. At least he's offending every race equally. No, mostly just the French and Italians. You don't see me trying to do, like, an African accent. Or a Chinese accent. Yeah, I'm not trying to do, like, Egyptian or Indian, Chinese. I'm not trying to do Latin American either. I'll give you 50 grams. You can always come back for more when you want to. Keone handed the shopkeeper a few crowns and retrieved a tiny cloth packet containing the precious vegetal aromas. Only the white accents? Exactly. I'm offending all the white people. As she was turning around, rather abruptly, she collided with a passerby. My apologies, ma'am. The stranger's warm voice awakened a rush of nostalgia. She therefore completely turned to better see him. Her heart skipped a beat upon discovering a more than familiar face. Oh, I gave way too wrong voice. Is everything all right? Ghost from the Past achievement. It was the face of Georges, the peddler she had encountered during her stay at Claremont. He had been her only friend, her only solace. She still remembered their long meetings, all the stories only he knew how to tell. And then, the incident happened. The damn day of her altercation with Gemma. She did not know exactly what had pushed her into using violence, into becoming so vicious, but she had hit the both of them. There is no way I am staying in this madhouse another minute. Can the next new character have a speech impediment? We'll see. I will never set foot here again. Farewell. And here he was, reappearing suddenly, as jovial as in her memories. What was he doing here in Genoa's market? Was it a sign? The princess was ashamed for behaving so badly, for having destroyed their friendship that way. If God was allowing their paths to cross again, then she had to seize that opportunity and make amends. He did not know her yet. It was still possible to make a fresh start and erase her past errors. You were quite pale. Could I have hurt you? Kiana was abruptly brought back to reality. She floundered. Impressions are inclusive here. Indeed.
Oh no, everything is fine. I am sorry for knocking you over like that. I was looking elsewhere.
What a relief! George is about to continue on his way. She had to act quickly.
I am genuinely very sorry for my blunder. How can I redeem myself?
It is quite charitable, but the mistake was mutual, and there is no reason for you to pay the price. You can consider this mishap to be forgotten already.
I insist. Is there truly nothing I can do that could be useful to you?
Can I do a Welsh accent? No. Well, I am a merchant, so I always need to sell products. Would you like to become my assistant for today?
Gladly.
The young man, who had only been joking, seemed surprised by so much eagerness. However, he acquiesced with great gentleness and took her a few steps away. I usually place myself here to work. It is a strategic zone. Not too visited so that I am not lost in the crowd, nor too far away from the hub where all businesses occur. Think that's a girl disguised as a dude? Probably not. Can one of the next characters have hot girl IBS? I habitually sell useful goods, but today is an exception. I recently had the opportunity to acquire at a low price a crate of spices from a bankrupt trader who was trying to get rid of it. My goal is thus to sell off my stocks as soon as possible, in order to become mobile again and visit all the markets of France and Italy.
So you are traveling all the time? What a lovely life it must be.
Let us say that it is a fitting lifestyle for my personality. I am quite certain a wealthy maiden such as yourself enjoys benefits I would never dare to claim for myself. Kiana rolled her eyes.
If only he knew how sad my life is.
The peddler understood her expression and changed the subject. Before we even start, may I know who I am honored to have as an assistant?
Oh, my name is Kiana, and I am the wife of King Janice.
The Queen! Had I known! You like when I drink the soda? I also like when I drink soda. Are you sure you want to stay with me?
Very much so. I came to the market to learn more about my people, and I believe this exercise will be quite instructive. Pretend you do not know who I am.
Force will swing like Napoleon Dynamite. You also thought it said girl? You thought George was girl? Well, I would not want to disoblige. My name is George, and I am merely a merchant who travels the roads.
Pleased to meet you. I look forward to helping bring this business to fruition.
The merchant was still reluctant to make the Queen work, but he eventually played along. She's skinny. Getting this. I did get another soda, actually. That's what I got up for, was another soda. That was why I stood up, Vanna. After a brief explanation of the spice's properties, he entrusted her with a mission. A sample in her possession, she had to accost other great ladies to ask them if they needed Ceylon cinnamon, and accordingly direct them to his improvised stall. At least I'm guessing it's Ceylon? Kalon? Ceylon? I don't know. For his part, he was taking care of demonstrations, singing the praises of the product, and collecting the money. The tasks being devilishly well distributed, they set to work. Like getting it to chop lumber, shaking sweat from my legs in slow motion. Fairly quickly, a small crowd of customers gathered around them. Since Kiana was impressively stylish and showcased the luxurious side of cinnamon so well, Genoa's middle-class ladies strongly desired to look like her. Without even knowing her position, after all, very few people had the opportunity of setting eyes on the Queen, they already wanted to imitate her. Hear ye, fair ladies! I have here a miraculous product, Ceylon Cinnamon. A spoonful of cinnamon mixed with honey right after supper does wonders as a cough medicine. Ladies, it is also an excellent way to overcome your husband's shortcomings.
Really?
Absolutely. Cinnamon can treat everything. Indigestions, rheumatisms, ladies' cramps, urinary infections, and toothache. Angry spam? What? But what is the difference with regular cinnamon? Is it only the color that differs? Far from it. Cassia cinnamon, which has this characteristic dark brown color, comes from China. Cassia cinnamon is harvested from the bark of cassia trees, and it is much less perfumed. What's more, it possesses less medicinal properties, and it is said that it could be harmful to eat in large doses. These new ones are cute. These ladies are cute. I will say, these women are cute. This one comes from the island of Ceylon, not far from the East Indies, and is harvested from the bark of Cinnamomum verum trees. Its price is admittedly higher, but it is a higher quality product. How can one tell the difference between the two? It is quite simple. If you look carefully, you will notice that Ceylon cinnamon is made of thin layers of bark rolled up on themselves, whereas the Chinese cassia is only made of a single thick layer. Legend has it that Queen Hatshepsut sent out an expedition to the land of Punt to retrieve some, as Egyptians would use it to embalm their mummies. Oh, new YouTube emojis? Oh. Oh, that's what you said. Thought said Goral. Goal. You thought goal was Goral. And that apparently is angry spam. Okay. These women are my type. More emojis. I know, I probably should. Cat in a box, that's a cute emoji. I will take you 50 grams. 100 for me. With the leather jacket hanging in sole in the closet. I should try to make that into emoji, an emoji actually. It's the lonely leather jacket emoji. Sad flashlight or fleshlight, Jordan? Could be a sad fleshlight. After just a few hours, George's already humble stocks were sold off. There you go. Sad fleshlight. Because it knows what's coming. One that says your mom. I have no idea, Rebecca. You'd have to ask her. He only kept a tiny sachet of cinnamon to be able to carry it on the road with him and sell it in smaller quantities. Waving crying penguin is heartbreaking. Yep. Gee, what a day it has been! I have rarely made so much money. It should be said that I usually never sell luxury items either. I was right to accept this opportunity. Besides, I certainly could not have done it so successfully without your help. You have been a perfect assistant. Can't ask her, she's banned. Well, there you go.
I am very happy to hear that I have fulfilled my mission. These last few hours have been exhausting, but also rather entertaining. I think I am starting to develop a taste for the merchant life.
You should not. It is not healthy. The fact remains that I am deeply indebted to you, and so I am keen to reward your efforts. A queen such as yourself must not be worried about gold, but I am ready to give some to you, or anything you fancy, to show my gratitude.
It is quite nice of you, Georges, but I cannot accept.
I have watched no dunes. I insist. It would not be fair to set off again when I have taken advantage of your labor, without giving anything in return.
Very well. If you really want to, there is something I desire which, I believe, should be within your capabilities.
Do tell, madam.
Give me your friendship. I ask for nothing more.
My friendship?
That would be a beautiful reward.
George was left speechless, as he did not expect such a request. Yet it only took him a few seconds to consider that this princess was decidedly an interesting fellow. Well, how could I refuse to grant such an adorable wish? Soaked like a dishwashing sponge. If my friendship is enough, I will gladly give it to you. As it was getting late, Kiana had to return to the palace, and regretfully parted ways with her comrade. Age roll, please. Have people who read Dune are pretentious? Mostly not. Some are. She promised she would come see him again and help him as much as he would need it before vanishing into the streets. She was so happy to have reconciled with her former friend that she had no fears facing Janice. He could lose patience, try as he might to convince her to remain reasonable by any means. She could not care less.
My dear, it is too late to play the compromise card. You had suggested one that I graciously accepted, and you still betrayed my trust by trying to prevent me from coming and going as I wished. Thus, I will no longer listen to you, and I will go to the city as much as it will strike my fancy. My favorite painting? I don't know what my favorite painting would be. Hey, color purple. I mean, Stephanie Hans has, like, painted comics. You know, some of, like, Stephanie Hans covers are paintings. So I guess maybe Stephanie Hans... I really love the cover she did of Firestar One Shot. Longest book we've all read? I mean, I read the Bible. That one's pretty long. It's possible I've read longer. Husband doesn't allow you to read. Good for him. Complicated. Excuse me? They're professionals. Find people who wear samurai pants offensive.
Arguably more. I mean, arguably less offensive than real samurai, because samurai were basically cops, and you know my feeling on cops. A new routine was established. Every morning, the young Moor would follow the lessons of her private tutor at the library. Even though they were deadly dull, she wanted to prove to her husband that she was ready to make an effort, thus encouraging him to do the same.
In the Leviticus, God reminds us that any woman who has a discharge of blood from her body shall be in her impurity for 7 days. Everything upon which she lies during her impurity shall be unclean. Everything upon which she sits shall be unclean. If anyone touches her on any of these objects, they too shall be unclean until the evening, and must wash their clothes, as well as bathe in water. But if a man lies with her during her impurity, he shall be unclean 7 days just like her, and every bed on which he lies shall be unclean as well. Thus on the 8th day, the woman shall take 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, and bring them to the priest as sin offerings. By sacrificing them on her behalf, she will be clean again. Women who have given birth are considered unclean too, and shall not leave the house or return to social life until they attend the ceremony of churching.
Make your face look like a painter's radio? What? Painter's radio? What? The hell is a painter's radio? Is that you saying you want me to jizz on your face? Is that what that means? Like, make my face look like a painter's radio? Does that mean, like, for somebody to come on your face? To jizz all over your face? Is that what a painter's radio is? Is it just a weird way of saying a facial? Spattered like a canvas. It's the radio part that's confusing me. Pollock style. Like, where's the radio coming into this? It's a radio because scrape is loud. Radios are destroyed and loud so. What? I don't really associate radios with painters. Or vice versa. Those are not two things that I really associate in my head. This very Artists keep their radios close by and they get splattered. I mean, frankly, I would think artists would keep their radios, little distance away just to avoid splattering them. Also, I would think that I wouldn't expect most artists actually have much splatter. Yeah, I mean, like, you get some artists who are like, wee, 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 wee. You get artists like that, but I feel like most artists are more careful with their brush strokes, you know? They're deliberate brush strokes. They're not splattering. I would think they would try to avoid splattering. Like for most artists, just because I mean, like, you know, you want to make sure your painting comes out right, and having a lot of splatter is going to ruin the painting, right? I love that we're Socratic seminaring this. I don't know if I'm messy. Most of it ends up on me. Art studios look like Scrape It. Like a painting crew. Ah, okay. Well, okay, I guess that's different. Anyway, back to this guy droning on. This very peculiar rite includes thanksgiving for the new mother. A blessing is given to her, and above all, she is purified. Except for the priest, men are excluded from attending, and it is a true honor to... Once the theological sermon completed, she would shut herself in her room to write to Nahima, with whom she was now maintaining a correspondence. The latter had been thrilled to receive her letter, and the two of them had been exchanging news on a regular basis since then. Never had an artsy friend who had a paint-splattered radio? Nope. I don't know why Nahima hasn't been able to come, live with us. Naturally, Nahima would periodically insist that she be allowed to reunite with her. However, Kiana esteemed that it would be better to keep a low profile for a little longer. Why? Just let her live. Once her quill was put away, she would sneak out thanks to her godmother's magic wand, more often than not to meet Georges in Genoa's alleyways. She would entrust her missive to him, as she had no faith in Louise or the castle servants. Besides, it gave her an excellent pretext to maintain their relationship. She would only go home at nightfall after a long and busy day, but was kind enough to give that time to her husband. Once again, she thought it could help him accept her independence. If she was beyond reproach, how could he complain about her? Little by little, word spread. It was said that the queen herself liked to take a walk in disguise, and that she was doing all sorts of good deeds. Indeed, even though she was invisible in the eyes of the citizens, her popularity increased, and King Janice had to admit that it arranged his affairs. Occasionally, when the sky was grey and cloudy, or when Georges was not available, for he was a very busy man, Kiana would cut short her stroll and spend the rest of the afternoon in her room. She would then summon her godmother to keep herself busy. My child, I cannot help but notice that you have been multiplying my interventions lately. Are you taking me for your nanny?
Good God, no! In no way do I mean to disrespect you. But now that I know that I can call you, it seems a pity not to make the most of it. There are so many questions I would like to ask.
Here we go again. Previously, I had to explain that centipedes can only have hundreds of legs at most. And, prior to that, you asked me if it was possible to invent an object that would allow communication between different beings living in different countries, and I had to reveal the invention of the future telegraph. What is it going to be this time?
Upon meditating the other night, I speculated that the moon could be another world, quite similar to ours. And if that was the case, its inhabitants would certainly be our opposites, like reflections in a mirror. Could it be that they live at night, just like we live at day, for example?
For the love of God, Princess, please keep your brilliant thoughts to your bath. I am not a walking encyclopedia.
But, Godmother, I would love to put my theory to the test. Do you think that if I strapped a number of vials of dew to my belt, the heat of the sun would attract them so much that I would land on the moon?
The theory just, sliding away. I will find myself out the door, if I may say so. Call me back whenever you have real things to ask me. Moments after, the creature disintegrated, still frowning.
I think I have offended her. I should probably stop asking all of the questions that come to mind.
Me in the shower. This little life seemed peaceful on the outside, but was not quite like that in reality. Despite her cheerfulness and her drive to keep going forward, Gyan had been deeply impacted by her time travels. She could never forget all these deaths, all this blood, all this violence. As Medea had said, her mistakes and sins were still following her like permanent scars. She would still suffer from nightmares from time to time, awaking with a start in the middle of the night. The king would inevitably witness these moments since they were sharing the same bed, and, every so often, he would gaze at her as she was slowly going back to sleep, utterly lost. In such intimate moments, he could not deny that her past appeared mysterious. He would wonder what she could have lived through to tremble like this, and would conclude that she might have gone through hell, that it would be better to never ask her. Kiana needs therapy. She does need therapy. Too bad it doesn't really exist at this point. He would then take her in his arms and stroke her hair as she was lying on his chest. All the affection he never showed her would furtively shine like a fleeting star. Although her strong personality scared him, he did genuinely feel fondness for his wife. Ah, well, that's nice to know that he does love her. The recollection of previous timelines took another form: paranoia. Several times a day, the young Moor would feel a presence in her back, and turn around only to discover that it was a trick of her imagination. The princess wished to rid herself of this consuming anguish more than anything. Oops. It would suffocate her as soon as she stayed inactive for too long. She found a rather simple way: purchasing a weapon in order to defend herself against any potential danger.
Citric acid. Yes, it does have citric acid. I'm in favor of scrapping the carbon tax. I mean, only if a better solution can be implemented to get corporations to reduce their environmental impact. I mean, hell, might be better to increase the carbon tax, frankly. Thus, she acquired a beautiful knife that she was wearing under her dress at all times. Of course, she never used it, but its mere presence was enough to soothe her mind. Thanks to this trick, her sleep was less agitated, and she would not toss and turn in bed so much. This little game did not escape the servants' attention, nor the king's for that matter, as it was still Louise who dressed her. However, they hardly paid attention to it, considering that it was a mere whim, an eccentricity, even more so when it was still a relatively commonplace practice at the time. Citric acid is what makes her cheeks hurt when you eat lemon heads. Hey, Waffles. A few weeks later, Kiana discovered that she was pregnant. She was quite surprised, but happy nonetheless, and hurried to announce the news to her husband. His first reaction was to rejoice. "What a joy! Oh, what a joy, dear! Will I finally obtain the heir I have been desiring for so long?" "It is to be hoped." As he was staring at her with open delight, his smile brutally fell. "The child is mine, is it not?" The shock was such that the young woman turned bright red and coldly replied, "How dare you ask such a thing? Do you truly believe that it is my type?" "It is just that we both know that well, you know what our pace is." "I will not hear another word." Looking daggers at him, she left the room, clicking her heels. Janice attempted to catch her again, to no avail. She had already hidden in a deserted corridor to use the hazel rod. Once invisible, she escaped the castle without being disturbed, and rushed to meet Georges, who was visiting the market for a short while. "You seem out of breath today, Lady Kiana, and much earlier than usual. Did something happen?" Oh, Georges, the king, he behaved odiously." "Tell me everything." "Well, I think I am pregnant." "My congratulations!" "He immediately worried about not being the father. I could not tolerate that, so I left." "Of all the nerve! Why did he work on the assumption that—" "It is quite embarrassing, but I cannot see myself opening up about this to anybody else. Can I pour out my troubles?" "You can count on my discretion." As it happens, our wedding night did not go very smoothly. Janice tried to please me, but he was not able to last long enough. "With his mouth?" "Goodness, no. With his hands." I did notice that he could not take any more, and I offered to cut it short. However, his fatigue was so strong that we struggled to, finish. "Coffee? I've never tried coffee, and I doubt I ever will." "I see." It did not trouble me in itself. I can kind of see myself opening up to George. "Yeah, he seems like a nice guy." It did not trouble me in itself. But since then, it is as if he had realized he did not have the stamina to keep a young woman after all. He imposed a ludicrous calendar on me. There is always a religious holiday, a fasting, Sabbath, Lent,
The moons are an exception somehow. Every time we need to practice abstinence in the name of religion. This diet is so drastic that I am barely allowed to touch him.
Why not? I don't even like the smell of coffee.
I came to think that I would never bear children at this rate. Thus, I was necessarily struck to discover that I was pregnant.
Why no coffee? I don't want to drink coffee. I don't want coffee. I understand better now. This sad case is in reality extremely jealous, and afraid that another might teach you working days the same way he taught you holidays, if I may say so. Trying to sip decaf mocha frappe? Nothing, it's just not something I want.
I fear that this might very well be the reason behind his attitude. Since our frequency is disastrous, he is already thinking that I have cheated on him. I feel deeply insulted. Not only am I not allowed to satisfy my own needs, but now here's what my faithfulness brings me in return. How ungrateful!
I love the smell of coffee. I don't like the smell of coffee at all.
Were he to make the laborers that till his lands work as often as he tills my plot, he would never harvest a single grain. Were he to make the laborers that till his lands work as often as he tills my plot,
That's cute.
he would never harvest a single grain.
Under such circumstances, I would understand if you wanted to take a lover. If your husband is unable to keep pace.
This is not even what annoys me most. That he does not want to sleep with me for one reason or another, so be it. That he invents all these outlandish excuses in order to justify himself, still acceptable.
Swiss cheese? I honestly don't know if I've ever had Swiss cheese. I don't think I have. Not because I have any opposition to it, it's just never come up. One of those things is just like, I have no objection to Swiss cheese. I've just never had the opportunity to have Swiss cheese.
But he should not put the blame on me. It is not my fault if he is getting old or is easily tired. Despite everything, I did not complain. I reassured him and I remained faithful. After all, not everyone has the same needs, and I am willing to come to terms with it. But just you wait. He is likely to require that I practice abstinence during my whole pregnancy.
If only Kiana knew how right she was. In fact, the king greatly feared his wife's sex drive, as she was not submissive enough to his tastes. Being unable to keep pace, he only responded by punishing her more, and she was barred from having any physical love until several months after the presumed delivery. It is therefore greatly depressed that she returned to Georges' side.
What a hypocrite.
I am sorry to hear that, Lady Kiana. I wish I could help in some way.
You may be able to. Would you happen to have items that could solve this problem for sale?
Arsenic, you mean?
George, come on! I have no desire to kill my husband. I was talking about our sex life.
Well, if he declines any sexual relation, never addresses the subject, and forbids you to find someone else as well, there is very little you can do. Do you want a wooden toy? I rarely have those on me, but I can order one for you fairly quickly. It is a good way to relieve pressure. What, is George going to bend her over a wagon already? They're friends!
He might get hold of it and call me a deviant.
Don't like blue sheets. I also have a beverage that can erode the ache. I find it quite sad to have to seal a part of your identity like that. You have the right to use your body as you see fit, and nobody should deny you access to it. Arsenic, I know. Yeah, it's like, our sex life is terrible. Do you have anything that could help? Poison? Like, Jesus, dude! A bit extreme. Like, that is a bit of an extreme response right there. My husband doesn't want to have sex with me. What do I do? Have you considered murder? One rose toy.
I am well aware, but what can I say? I have bought a losing ticket. My husband is neither kind nor accommodating. What else can I do but endure?
Still, that is quite strange. Did he ever let anything slip concerning the reasons why he is so defiant of intercourse?
As I said, he refuses to talk about it. I did attempt to make him spill the beans, to show him that I am only asking to better cohabit with him, but he is stubborn.
I do have my
own theory.
What is it?
In truth, I have two theories. Either Lord Janice does not like intercourse, and he is inventing those excuses so that he does not have to touch me. Either he is secretly attracted to men, and refuses to admit it. I only see those two explanations.
Could it be that his fear of being cheated on or not measuring up comes under consideration as well?
Probably. Between the two of us, that makes 3 different theories. But it ultimately does not make much of a difference. He is too proud to share his obsessions either way. What a waste! Tying himself in knots like that, when he could simply set his ego aside. It is going to cause us misfortune, if it is not already the case.
It is not easy for some men to accept to show vulnerability, even to their wife. I remain convinced that you deserve better, but I respect your choice. Take this potion. Its bitter taste will deter any urge.
Thank you, George. I do not know what I would do without you. Why do you not come to Genoa more often? I would love to see you more.
My apologies, Lady Kiana. I do my best not to leave the area, but I remain a traveler by nature. Her friend's sensibility made the young Moor smile again, albeit faintly.
Ah, she thought, if only I could marry someone like you. Someone sweet and understanding.
She quickly banished those inappropriate thoughts from her mind.
What am I saying? I became queen, the wife of a king, and it should be all that matters. Everything else is a bonus.
He did buy a wardrobe full of dresses. That is true, Jordan. He did buy a women's wardrobe full of dresses. Although her husband was making life hard for her, poor Kiana seemed convinced that it was the most natural thing in the world, and that she had to learn to adapt. After all, what could be better than being queen? Her pregnancy introduced additional frustration. For her own safety, Janice asked her to be under the care of numerous physicians, who regulated her activities more than ever. They would examine everything: what she was eating, what she was reading, what she was weaving. Even her habitual walking paths were inspected, in the event of a thorn standing in her way. In a word, she was criticized from dawn to dusk. The widow and her two daughters. I'm totally on your side, Comic Book. Fuck the monarchy. The Widow and Her Two Daughters is another tale presented in Le Magazine des Enfants by Jean-Marie Leprince de Beaumont. It is also a subversion of the kind and unkind girls motif. The two sisters here are not pitted against each other, but complement one another. When a poor old woman comes knocking on her door, a widowed mother offers her to rest in her house, and asks her two daughters to take care of her. If Blanche clearly reluctantly does so, dissatisfied she has to share the plums she worked so hard to grow, Vermeil appears to be extremely obliging. Yet, when the old woman turns out to be a fairy and decides to reward them for their hospitality, the division seems weirdly unfair. While Vermeil is offered a lovely farm to meet her needs, Blanche is predicted to become a queen. For that matter, she instantly catches the eye of a king, who hurries to marry her. The reader could think that the fairy was mistaken. That is far from the truth. The life of luxury is actually more a curse than a blessing. Nobody respects her, and the king himself quickly gets bored of his new wife. The situation deteriorates even more as soon as she bears his children. Bedridden, isolated, scorned, Blanche is nearly dying of grief until she is allowed to see her sister in the countryside. Upon seeing her happy, she realizes the trick the fairy played on her, and decides to never return to the court. Aww. In no time, bed confinement was imposed on her, even though she felt absolutely well enough to walk and exercise. She implored the king to allow her to stretch her legs every now and then, but he quite simply refused to interfere, claiming that the experts he had chosen knew better than anyone what she needed. Kiana thought she had returned to Claremont at the time when she was not allowed to do anything. It was especially painful, as she could have maintained her correspondence with Nahima, or her visits to Georges. There was no wall to prevent her from gazing at the outside world in the distance, that lively place which attracted her so. And I think this is a good place to end the episode. So we aren't done yet. So probably I would expect then next time. Invisible or X-ray vision. I think I'd probably prefer to be able to turn invisible. Chronotopia is derived from Greek for time and place. Yes. It is a variation on a utopia. The abominable invisible. I mean, being invisible, I could just, like, rob places whenever I felt like it. Walk into some rich dude's house, grab some money, walk out. Some Minute Maid flavors were originally Fruitopia. I did not know that. Rob all the Walmarts. Yep. Just rip off all sorts of rich people. Being invisible would allow me to screw over so many rich people. So yeah. I'll take invisibility over being able to see through things. Like, what does being able to see through things even get me? Good section of Cornucopia. Indeed. Hey, Brooke. Motion tells MIA. Couldn't tell you. All I can tell you is I'm happy for those of you who came to watch. Remember when ALR didn't know what a cornucopia was? I did not know that. I do not remember that. What I will say is not every, like, you know, I know what a cornucopia is. You know, the Horn of Plenty, basically. Yeah, I know what the Horn of Plenty is. Thanksgiving themed dog toy for Twinkie store. And she was like, what? But I mean, it's not something that's common knowledge. Like, it's not something that's really particularly common knowledge. Yeah, like, it's not weird. It's not that weird for somebody not to have heard of a cornucopia. No, or at least not to have heard that term, you know? It happens. We don't all receive the same education. We don't all read the same books or watch the same shows. It's not that weird to not have heard of a cornucopia. And it's not a person's fault for not having heard of something that isn't universally taught, you know? The symbol of Thanksgiving here. So? It's like Quay? Exactly. Yeah, I'm not going to judge somebody who pronounces it Quay, even though it's key. They haven't heard, they don't know that it's... Wasn't the word, it was the object. Ah. Again, so what? So she'd never noticed it before. You know, like she'd probably seen it and just absolutely never even noticed it. Just like... No, that's fine. She wasn't reading it as yet. Right, but like I said, I mean, like, again, it's fine. Anyway, I am going to end it for tonight. I'll be back another time. So, thanks for watching. And, see you later. Bye, everybody.